rack up their 11th straight win. The streak is alive as we welcome you to the floor at American Airlines Center here in Big D. That's Brian Oliver, Matt Weiner. Great to have you with us. And the Hawks just keep rolling and rolling. They dominated this game, took the quick early lead, and never relinquished it. And you could nitpick with a few minutes here and there, but not many.
Well, here's the thing.
Solid.
They came with the sense of urgency that you would expect them, because sometimes with a young team like this, when you have a big win like they had against Orlando, maybe a sense of a letdown. I didn't see that at all. I thought that they came out from the beginning of the game. We often talk about how you approach the game. I thought that with their defense, they were able to get out in transition. But we often talk about this team and how unselfish they are. We saw on multiple occasions throughout the night them passing up good shots for better shots, creating for one another. We saw a lot of pick and dive, pick and pop, and then that ball having energy. And again, I'm going to go on the line and talk about Jalen Johnson and the fact that he may not have had his 20-point-plus game, flirted with the triple-double, but I like how unselfish he was. There are times where he did not have the shot, some that he did, but he continued to make the pass. And I think that when your best player plays like that, it becomes contagious.
Well, you played long enough to know this. You're not going to shoot the ball great every night.
Yep.
You can't let that impact the rest of your game, and that's the way Jalen Johnson played tonight. Ford Key, 36 assists off the fingertips of Hawks facilitators.
And, man, we often talk about how this team wants to get out and run. You want to play with spacing. And then Onyeka Okongwu was the guy. You and I joked about it. He got them going early, but then really didn't score much after that. But this Hawks team, as far as how they play, the ball is moving. You got guys that are cutting. You're making good passes. You saw everyone that got on the floor was able to score. I thought Jonathan Kuminga came in. And then, multiple playmakers that you have that can create not only for themselves but for each other. And I think that's one of the things that if you're Quinn Snyder, you look at the fact that this team plays really good defense. You're going to get out. Everybody's going to get a chance to touch it. It makes it hard for a defense to set up and focus on one guy when that ball is constantly moving, high assists. Everyone gets a chance to eat. And I think that's one of the things that you've seen that's been consistent throughout this 11-game streak.
36 assists to just 11 turnovers. If there's a point guard out there who has a better than a 3-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, you think, oh, that guy's elite. They did it as a team. That's almost unheard of.
Well, here's the thing, though, is the fact that they keep it simple. And you watch how they want to play is that the ball is moving, you probe the paint. If you get a chance to get a free run to the rim, then you take advantage of it. But if you cause that defense to collapse, you get it out, and you've got shot makers. You get out in transition. And what I think it is that the Hawks have understood that you keep it simple. You stay consistent. You don't get outside of yourself. And that's one of the things that's been really obvious in how they've been able to string together these 11 wins, because they're playing for one another, and they're disciplined in how they're doing defensively and offensively.
You heard Dyson Daniels talk about it in the post-game interview, the defensive chemistry, how they're playing on a string right now, and that leads to arguably your favorite stat, which is points off turnovers. 23 off 19 turnovers.
But here's the thing is that we often talk about this Hawks team that right now, you look at 11-game winning streak, they've been #1 as far as their defensive rating. And one of the things is that how they are connected. It's the commitment to defense. You understand is that they do a good job of being able to rotate. We talk about the fact that Onyeka Okongwu out there gives you a guy that you can switch 1 through 5. They're getting the ball and they're getting out and running. And you saw multiple occasions how when they're able to capitalize and punish the other team for their mistakes, you get those scoring opportunities. You have multiple guys out there that can probe the paint, finish at the rim, and that's basically what it's been, is the fact that your defense has really been the one that's starting everything for you.
Offensively, the evolution of C.J. McCollum in the starting lineup has been really interesting to me, because you're talking about a guy who averaged 20 points for something like 8 or 9 NBA seasons. I mean, he is a professional scorer, but he's giving up shots on occasion, racked up 7 assists in this game, and the way the system is supposed to work, the ball comes back to him FanDuel Revisit, he winds up with 24 points.
I remember you and I talking about when he first started with the Hawks, there was a little bit of an adjustment with CJ and him understanding when to go for his offense, when to include his teammates, where he's mastered that, because when you see how they're able to play, we thought, I wonder if he would be able to exceed the 17.5 points, where you knew that coming off of that poor shooting night against the Mavericks, he came in, had gotten some work in, had 24 points, and it was a level of efficiency that he played with, because he does a good job of being able to balance going for his shot, getting his teammates involved, and we've already known that this is a guy that's a three-level type of scorer, that if he can get you to the point where off balance, you're pretty much at his mercy. You saw time and time again throughout the night, the Mavericks guys that they had on him, he was able to be able to get that little herky-jerky style, and you and I joke about it. If he gets you off balance and pulls off, then basically you're dead in the water. Had a great offensive night tonight.
It's one thing to know you can get your own shot whenever you want. It's another thing to wait until it's appropriate, right? And CJ seems to have figured out that balance within this offense.
Yeah, I thought we were, just really executed. It's something we've talked about, and, kind of settling in to certain guys and certain combinations for us is important. And frankly, that really, we haven't been able to do that. Been together, that group, a little over a month, maybe longer now, if you don't count All-Star break. But, whether it's JJ handling, Nikhil was involved in a pick and roll action. I thought the play that stood out late to me was when Onyeka got the ball in the post and just had great poise, and Nikhil ended up getting a screen and got a three. And so it's not necessarily who has the ball, but we need to keep playing that way. The guys that are trying to generate an advantage in the action, it might be for them, but it might be for someone else. And if we do that, we're much more efficient because the defense can't lock in. So I was happy with that.
I remember all the way back at Media Day, you mentioned that when it came to this group gelling, that there had to be patience, but also urgency. Obviously, we talked about how many different, iterations of this team there has been. But I'm curious how you felt this theme has just kind of stuck through the entire season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a credit to all of them. I think whatever, it's difficult to put yourself in their shoes. And I think the thing that stands out more than anything is as guys have had to adjust to one another, which really means adjusting their roles. I think at this point, I think it was important for us to actually settle in. And really, this is the first night that's really happened with Jonathan as well. And it's required all of them to really, have a selfless attitude and truly put the team for. JJ talked about it better than I am right now with some of his comments, and it was hearing. It's good for me to read.
Speaking of Jonathan, was that a pass or a jumper in your opinion?
I think it was a pass, but if he wants to say it was a shot, I'll go with that too. But it was a good pass, and he did a lot of other things in addition to that were really, helped our team.
You have Northwest size.
In the box score, by the way, it was a shot, and a successful shot from 75 feet away. Speaking of players who do a lot of things, Dyson Daniels, fingerprints are all over the box score.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We often talk about his defense. We celebrate how he was able to get Dyson Daniels and then the other Hawk players. This team is playing so well because you have different guys that are able pretty much to fit their role. Is that, you star in your role, you come out, guys don't try to do too much, don't try to exceed it, and Dyson Daniels is one of those guys, again, one of your primary ball handlers is going to defend, he's going to finish, and in spite of him not shooting the ball well from behind the arc, he still find a lot of different ways to impact the game.
He put on a little dunk show tonight.
He did.
Three of them. Jonathan Kuminga, I I can't say this. There's no inside information here. It feels to me, and I mentioned it to him at halftime, like the knee thing is going to be almost a day-to-day, and we'll see how he's feeling. He looked better tonight, and I felt like he played better tonight.
Yeah, I thought that he came out, and you could tell that he had a little bit more energy, a little bit more pep in his step. And, again, you don't know with the knee thing if that's one of the things that, that hampers it, but I thought he moved well. You looked at his night, the 16 points, the 5 rebounds, the 3 dimes. I thought that he did a good job of himself. I thought he did a good job of playing within the Hawks' rhythm and what they wanted to do offensively. Didn't force it too much. And I think that's one of the things that you look at going forward is that you can play him at the 3 or the 4. I thought that he was able to basically get what he wanted when he was matched up a bit against bigger defenders. He's a guy that's often that you can put on another scorer too, because he's going to be a physical defender, and then the rebounding is something that I think that the Hawks can benefit as well. I loved his game all around. I thought he did a great job off the bench.
Didn't get to the free throw line tonight, but that's something he does very well. And I mentioned it during the game. He told Tony Lang on the sideline he'd made the right play on 5 straight possessions. So in other words, the basketball gods owed him that shot.
And he wasn't lying.
No. Play the right way, good things typically happen to you. That's the way the game